Hello guys, in this video lecture we will try to prove a result on compact linear operators defined on norm spaces. Statement is on your screen, which states that if we have a sequence of compact linear operators from a norm space X into a norm space Y, which is also Banach, Y is Banach space, the limit of that sequence is also a compact linear operator, but this sequence should converge uniformly in the operator norm with respect to operator norm defined on the vector space of bounded linear operators. That is, this Tn should converge to this T uniformly. This convergence should be uniform. So we will try to prove this result. It actually helps us to define or determine whether some linear operator is compact or not. We try to approximate that linear operator, bounded linear operator, by a sequence of compact linear operators. So let us try to prove this result. So let me first give a brief review of the facts written here. What do we mean by uniform convergence, and let me state a criteria for the compactness of a linear operator. So here we have first X is a normed space, Y is Banach norm space, this is also Banach. So we have a bounded linear operators from X into Y. We have all types of bounded linear operators from T. We know that this all these operators form a vector space which is represented by B of X comma Y. In fact, it is also Banach, B of XY. This is the set of all bounded linear operators, from X into Y. And compact linear operators is a subset of this vector space. That is, if this is B of XY, which is the set of all bounded linear operators from X into Y, it has a subset. This is the subset which consists of compact linear operators, although it also forms a vector space in itself. Compact linear operators. So we have a sequence here, that is T1, T2, T3 belong to here, dash dash dash. We want to know whether, if we have a sequence of compact linear operators, whether limit also belongs to this or limit belongs to here. We want to know this, whether this limit is also an element of this this set which we chose, or it is outside of it. And in this result we will prove that it is also that limit of the, but convergence should be uniform. By uniform convergence we mean that Tn minus T in the operator norm, where this norm is defined on this space. This is operator norm, this is Banach space. It should go to 0 as n goes to infinity. This is the uniform convergence of the operators. Although there are other kinds of convergence in this space. One is strong convergence, weak convergence, uniform convergence. We have other types of convergences in this space, but here we will assume that Tn goes to T uniformly. That is, this convergence does not depend on Y, it is uniform. It does not depend on X, where X is the element of this this vector space X, norm space. It should be true that Tn should go to T for all X in X. for all x. It should not depend on x. And another criteria we will use for the compact linear operators, we say an operator defined on, let us suppose this is a norm space x and this is y, and this is an operator, linear operator. We say T is compact if it is linear compact linear operator if it is linear, and every bounded sequence here, that is we have a sequence xn here in x norm space x1 x2, I'm not able to write it properly here, x1 x2, we have a sequence here which is bounded. This is bounded. Every bounded sequence when we will operate T on this sequence, we will get a sequence here, T of x1, T of x2, etc. It should have a convergent subsequence. This T of xn, it should have, this sequence should have convergent subsequence. This is another criteria, although the definition for the compact linear operator is that if we take any bounded set here in x, if we take any bounded set, its image should be relatively compact. And by using the sequential compactness, we know in the metric spaces, sequential compactness, they all coincide. There is no distinction between the sequential compactness or compactness. Therefore, if we take this sequence or any sequence of a compact set, it should have a convergent subsequence. We will use this result in order to prove this result. So hence we will show that for any bounded sequence we take in x, for any bounded sequence, this is any bounded sequence, we will show that T of xn has a convergent subsequence. T of xn has a convergent subsequence. We will try to extract a convergent subsequence from this sequence, which we will do by using the diagonal argument. Since this is the limit, this is the uniform limit of the sequence of compact linear operators, so we will try to extract a subsequence from this sequence which is convergent. So let us use the compactness of operators. We know that T1 is compact, T1 is compact, T2 is compact. Let me write this sequence here, T1, T2, T3. This is a sequence in B of xy, and it goes to uniformly to T. Since T1 is compact and we have a bounded bounded sequence xn, let me write it here. This is a bounded sequence here. So T1 of xn should have a convergent subsequence. That is, since T1 is compact, T1 of xn, this sequence, it should have a convergent subsequence. It should have convergent subsequence because T1 is compact. So let us denote that sequence by, let that be some T1 of xn 1. Let this be convergent subsequence of this sequence in y, where xn1 is corresponding subsequence of xn, where xn1 is or let me represent this, because here are too many indexes we have to use. Let me denote it by x1n, or rather xn1. I will not use this notation. Let me use the notation x1n, in order to that this and this will coincide. First, this T1 should coincide with 1. It is just a notation. You can use xn1. It doesn't matter at all. but then since there is maybe a confusion between the indexes, we have to use many indexes here, where x1 is this sequence. This is the subsequence of xn. This sequence is subsequence of xn. Let me first write it clearly. What do we mean? Let me write it clearly. We had a sequence xn which is bounded, and x1n is the corresponding subsequence of xn, that is x1 cos for t1. Let me denote it by t1 x1n is the corresponding subsequence of t1xn, which is x1n is simply sequence x11 comma x12 x12 x13 x14 this is the subsequence of xn corresponding to t1. Since xn is a bounded sequence, so all of its subsequence must be also bounded. Therefore this is also bounded, this subsequence is also bounded. Now we will use the argument for this sequence, same argument. Now since this is a bounded sequence, for this its image under t2, that also should have a convergent subsequence. That is, if we act t2 on this subsequence of xn, if we act t2, that is we will get t2 of x1n, this sequence in y, we will get this sequence in y. But since t2 is also compact, therefore this sequence should also have a convergent subsequence. And also remember that x1n is also bounded because it is a subsequence of a bounded sequence. Therefore t2 x1n has also a convergent subsequence. Let me denote that by x2n. That is corresponding to t2, we will have a sequence x2n which is a subsequence of x1n. This is a subsequence of x1n, and since this was bounded, this must be also bounded. That is x2n is a sequence x21 x22 x23 dash dash dash. It is a convergent subsequence of x1n, and continuing in this way, we will get a number of subsequence corresponding to now considering this a bounded sequence corresponding to this its image under t3, we will get a convergent subsequence of this sequence, which we will represent simply by x3n. And by continuing this argument repetitively after m steps or n steps or k steps, whatever steps you will like to denote it by, after m steps, let me go up to m steps, we will get a subsequence of this first sequence or the previous corresponding sequences, although these are all the subsequence of the first sequence which was bounded. So after m steps, if we repeat this argument continuously after m steps, we will get a subsequence xmn, which will be convergent subsequence. So let me summarize this whole argument. So we had a bounded subsequence xn. Corresponding to this, we got corresponding to t1, we got a subsequence, convergent subsequence, which we denoted by x1n, that is x11 x12 x13 dash dash dash, and this was corresponding to T1. Corresponding to T2 we got x22 x23 dash dash, and corresponding to T3 we got x31 x32 x33 dash dash, and after m steps we got for tmth we got xm1 xm2 xm3 dash 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 dash. One thing is about all these sequences, that they are all bounded. This is bounded, this is also bounded, and this is also convergent. This sequence no sorry, this is not convergent. Its image is convergent under T1. Sorry, I said it wrongly. Since T1 is compact, therefore T1 of x1n is convergent. This sequence is convergent in Y. Similarly, its image, this second sequence we got, its image under T2 is convergent. Similarly, this subsequence, third subsequence, which is a subsequence of this sequence, second one, its image is under T3 is convergent. Similarly, after m steps we will get tmth of this thing, xmth, and which is also convergent. Hence they are all Cauchy. They are all Cauchy sequences. That is, T1 of x1n is Cauchy. This because you know that every convergent sequence is a Cauchy sequence. Now we will try to construct a mth sequence using the diagonal elements of all these sequences. That is, let me consider this element, first one, then second one, then third one, going like this diagonally. We will see the property of this sequence. So let me now construct a sequence. Let us denote this by xmm, which is ym. So this sequence we got by taking the first element of x1n, by taking the first element of x1n, and second element of x2n, third element of x3n, which is the diagonal sequence. And since this is also the subsequence of xn, therefore it must be also bounded. This is also bounded. This diagonal sequence is also bounded because it's the subsequence of xn. But it has a nice property, and this sequence has a nice property. What is that property? It is that if we fix any integer, this diagonal sequence has a nice property that if we fix any integer, then this sequence must converge. Tn of ym must converge, where n is fixed. If we fix any integer n is fixed, because you already know that T1 is compact, T2 is compact. Let me write it again. This sequence has a nice property that xmm, which is ym, that is, if we will fix any integer n, then T and ym should be convergent, hence Cauchy. That is, if we fix any integer, let us suppose we fix 100. Since T100 is compact, and this is a sequence we got corresponding to bounded sequence xn, therefore T100 of ym which is also xmm, that is 100 n. This is convergent clearly. Similarly, if you fix any integer, let us suppose 50, t50, since t50 is a compact linear operator, therefore t50 of x50 n, this should be also convergent, hence Cauchy, this should be Cauchy, since this is convergent and every convergent sequence is Cauchy. So therefore this sequence has a nice property that if we will fix any integer, this is convergent. And also we know that xn is a bounded sequence. Which implies norm of xn should be less or equal to some positive fixed constant c. This c should not depend on n, where this c does not depend on, this doesn't depend on n, this c does not depend on, which we mean which is simply the case of boundedness, does not depend on n. Since ym is also subsequence of this, ym is subsequence of this thing xn, its norm should be also bounded for any m. This is also less or equal to c. Also we know that Tn converges uniformly to T. Also we know that in the operator norm, that is Tn converges to T uniformly, which implies given any epsilon, by definition, given any epsilon, there exists some fixed integer, let us suppose p, some fixed integer, positive integer p greater than 0, such that tp minus t is norm. We can bound this norm by any positive number, because this is convergent, this is less than any, we can make this difference as small as we want. Let us suppose let us choose epsilon upon 3c. Later on you will know why we do choose this quantity epsilon upon 3c. It is the same 3 argument, epsilon 3 argument. We try whatever the terms we need, we try to divide epsilon by that number. If we had some n terms, we can divide this by epsilon upon nc, so that after combining all those terms we will get simply epsilon. Since this is arbitrary, and we can make this difference, since Tn converges to T, and we can make the difference as small as we want, so we can choose any positive number here, epsilon upon 3c. And also we have a property about Tn's. We know that fixed any we know that Tnym was Cauchy or convergent, it was convergent, hence Cauchy. Inverse is not true for the Cauchy, as Cauchy sequence may not converge, but convergent sequence is also always Cauchy. Tn of Tnym has a nice property that fixed any m, that if we will fix any n, this is Cauchy, this is convergent, hence Cauchy. So in the previous part we showed that Tn converges to T, that is, there exists a fixed p. Instead, if we fix this p, it should hold also for this p. This condition, it shows that for any n fixed, n, this is a convergent sequence, hence it should be true for this p also, because this p is fixed. Hence Tp of ym should also be Tp of ym. This is also Cauchy, because this holds for any n fixed, n. This is Cauchy for any fixed n. And we know by convergence that there exists some fixed p, such that the difference between Tp and T gets as small as we want, and hence this condition should also hold for that p also, because Tp is a if we fix p, Tp is a compact operator. Since this is Cauchy now, we simply implies by the definition of Cauchy, there exists some fixed positive integer fixed positive integer n greater than 0, such that we can make the difference of jth and kth term as small as we want. After n, that is, we can make difference of tp, let me denote this by yj, jth and kth term. We can make this as small as we want. Let us choose epsilon upon 3 for all jk greater than n. After n, this is after fixed n, finite n, for all jk greater than, this is simply definition of Cauchy-Ness. That is, we can make this difference as small as we want after this fixed positive n. So we have these three conditions. Remember, you simply remember these three conditions. Now we will prove simply that t of yj and t is a or t of ym is a Cauchy, and hence it will be convergent because y is a Banach space. We will simply now show that, simply remember these three inequalities, these three estimates. We will now simply show that t of ym is Cauchy. T of ym is Cauchy. We will simply prove that this is Cauchy, which will simply imply that t of ym is convergent, which will, because y is a Banach space, that is t of ym is convergent, which will simply prove that t is a compact linear operator. So our job remains to show that this is a Cauchy sequence. T of ym is simply a Cauchy sequence. Hence we have to show that the difference between jth and kth term of this sequence goes to 0 as they tend to infinity. That is, we have simply to show that for any jk greater than n, we simply have to show t of yj k minus t of yj minus t of yk, this norm goes to 0 as jk tends to infinity. We simply have to show this, which will simply imply that t of ym is Cauchy and hence convergent. So it is simple, you can do it. It is a simple inequality. So let us show this. We will simply write the value of t of yj minus t of yk, which is same as, we will introduce the 0th term in this equality, which is simply t of yj plus tp of yj minus tp of yj, which is 0. tp of yj minus t of pb of yj is 0, plus I will introduce another term tp of yk minus tp of yk, which is also 0, which has no effect on the equality, minus t of yk, norm. Now we will combine some terms and use the triangle inequality in order to get our result. So we will simply combine t and tp, this and this term. We will simply combine these two terms, and we will combine these two terms, and we will combine these two terms, because we already had three inequalities for these three terms. So we will get in norm of, this is simply t minus tp of yj, t minus tp of yj plus tp yj minus tp yk, tp yj minus tp yk, and third term is simply tp yk minus tp minus t of yk. No. Now we will simply use the triangle inequality for these three terms. Let me write it again. So we have norm of t minus tp of yj plus tp yj minus tpyk plus tp minus t of yk norm, which is simply less or equal to, by using the triangle inequality, t minus tp of yj plus tp yj minus tpyk plus here we used the, since t goes to tn goes to t uniformly, therefore we can use this inequality here, because this is bounded operator t minus tp, therefore we can use this here. Hence we have tp minus t yk. Now by using the previous three properties, we know that this difference t minus tp, because tn goes to t uniformly, we can make this difference less than epsilon upon 3c, and yj was a bounded sequence, it was bounded by some positive constant c, plus, and this was Cauchy, hence this was less than epsilon by 3, and this was also less or equal to epsilon upon 3c into c, which is simply equal to epsilon. Hence since epsilon was our arbitrary positive constant, we simply says that t of yn goes to 0. We simply say that t of ym the difference between the jth and k term goes to 0, which implies that this is Cauchy, since y is Banach, which implies that this is convergent. Hence we showed that for any bounded sequence, since xn was arbitrary bounded sequence, this was arbitrary bounded sequence, we got a subsequence of t of xn, namely t of ym. You knew that ym was the diagonal sequence, you remember, ym was simply subsequence of xn, therefore this is a subsequence of this thing here. We showed that this is Cauchy, hence it is convergent, and this is also arbitrary, this was the arbitrary subsequence of a bounded sequence xn, hence t is compact, and we will show by an example how to actually approximate an operator defined on some Banach and in a norm space into a Banach space. We will show how to approximate actually some operator by sequence of bounded these compact linear operators. So let us now give an example of that result. So this gives us a process in order to determine whether a operator is compact or not. So let us define an operator on, let us take simply Hilbert space L2. Let us take a t operator t from L2 into L2 itself, defined by simply t of, we take simply a sequence here, t of x is simply y, which is simply this is a sequence y in L2, which is simply defined by eta j, where j goes from 1 2 3 up to dash dash, where eta j is simply defined by epsilon j or eta zeta j upon j, where zeta j is a sequence in L2 in the domain space, that is x is simply, we take a sequence x simply xij. T of x is simply y, which is defined simply by zeta j upon j. So this is let me show explicitly how this is defined. We simply take x as sequence in L2, zeta j, t of x is simply what? This is a sequence in L2, which is simply xi1 upon 1, xi2 upon 2. We simply divide by its index, xi3 upon 3, xi4 upon 4, dash 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 dash. This is tx. This is our operator t defined on L2. So we will try to approximate this operator by a sequence of compact operators. So we will define a sequence first, and then we will show it is linear, it is bounded, or it is compact simply, and we will show that it converges, that sequence converges to this operator uniformly, and then which will simply show that this operator must be also compact. So let us first try to define a sequence. We will simply set t1 of x, simply first element of that sequence simply xi1 upon 1, 0 0 0 0. That is t1 of x is simply xi1 upon 1, and rest of all 0. t2 of x will simply be xi1 upon 1, xi2 upon 2, and rest are 0. Simply t3, then t4, t5. Let me denote it here. That is t1 of x is simply, where x is a sequence, remember x is a sequence in L2, this is simply xi1 comma 0 0 dash dash, and t2 of x is simply xi1 upon 1, xi2 upon 2, 0 0 dash dash. Then t3 of x is simply xi1 upon 1, xi2 upon 2, xi3 upon 3 dash dash 0 0 0. These are all zeros here. And then nth term of this sequence will be defined by nth operator is simply xi1 1, xi2 2, xi3 3, xi4 4 dash dash dash, xi nth upon n. Then after all these terms are, rest terms are 0. Now it is clear that for every fixed n, this is a linear operator. It is also bounded, it is also compact, beta, because its image is compact. T1 has a image of dimension 1, T2 has a image of dimension 2. It is clear from all these facts. T3 has a dimension of image has a T3 has a image of dimension 3, and simply for any fixed n, it has a image of finite dimension. And we know that any linear bounded operator which has a finite dimensional image, it is always compact. So I am not going to prove this result. You must revisit this result. This is very easy. So I will simply try to prove that this Tn goes to our original operator. That is, we will simply prove that Tn will go to T uniformly. So we will try to calculate their difference. So we will try to calculate T minus Tn x norm square difference. Remember, this difference, whatever we will get here, this should not depend on x, otherwise it will not converge uniformly. Whatever we will get on the right hand side, it should be independent of the x. It should not depend on x. Although we are writing here x because we don't have any other option, because T is simply an operator. We will know nothing about it except that we have to operate it on some element on the space L2. Now this difference is simply T was our operator, T of x was our simply T of x was our xi1 upon 1, xi2 upon 2 dash 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 xin upon n. Then after this we will get n plus 1th term, n plus 1th term, and dash dash dash. This is our T. So if we take difference between T nth of x and T nth of x was simply xi1 upon 1, xi2 upon 2 xi n upon n, then the rest of the terms were 0. Therefore, if we will take the difference of these two, this term will cancel, this term will cancel, all these terms will cancel. We will remain only with these, all these terms, these xi n is from n plus 1. So we will simply remain with the summation mod of xi j or xi I, whether whatever you like, index xi j square j going from n plus 1 to infinity, because only we will get from n plus 1 we will get the non-negative terms. These will cancel up to n terms, these will all cancel, we will remain only with the n plus 1 term, from n plus 1 terms up to infinity. Therefore we will get this summation. Now we will try to show that this sum is this sum goes to 0 as j goes to infinity. So let us try to calculate this. Let us try to show this sum, that is summation xi j square mod square upon j square, j goes from n plus 1 up to infinity. Since this is a decreasing sequence, if you know that 1 upon j square, this is a decreasing sequence, therefore its supremum will be simply n plus 1 whole square. That is, this term will be less or equal to 1 upon n plus 1 square summation xi j square, j goes from n plus 1 up to infinity, because this is the supremum of this sequence n plus 1, because this is a decreasing sequence. So now this is not the norm of x. We will now try to convert this series into norm of x, but because in this we have terms from n plus 1, so we will add extra terms, we will add to it extra terms from first up to n terms, then this sum will be also less than that, that is, this will be less or equal to n plus 1 square. If we try to add some positive terms in it, this sum will be greater than this sum, xi j square norm square mod square, j goes from 1 to infinity. That we have added the terms from 1 up to n, so therefore this sum will be greater. And now this sum is simply norm of x square, that is, we got difference of t minus t and x norm square, we got simply 1 upon n plus 1 square norm of x square, norm 2, because we are in space L2, this is norm 2 of x. So if we simply divide by this or take the supremum over all the vectors of norm 1, we will take simply supremum over all the vectors of norm 1, that is all sequence of norm 1, this square, supremum over all norm of x1, we will take the norm here and it will vanish, simply 1, and we will simply get n plus 1 square. Remember, this was less or equal to, and on the left hand side we will simply get the norm of t minus tn. This is simply norm of t minus tn square, which is less or equal to 1 upon n plus 1 square. That is, we got finally t minus tn norm square is less or equal to 1 upon n plus 1 square. That is, t minus tn norm is simply less or equal to 1 upon n plus 1. Now by taking limit on the both sides, this term will go to 0, hence t will converge to tn uniformly, because you see here right hand side does not depend on the x term, therefore t will go to tn uniformly, and hence by the previous result this t must be also compact. This t must be also compact linear operator. Linear, we already proved that this is linear, that was easy to prove, although I didn't prove that. So this was about the approximation by the sequence of compact linear operators. Thanks.